let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akugha as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akugha. In our lineup for today, as usual, are some of the most interesting stories trending in the Niger Delta. We kickstart with a special report on the people's reaction in the Niger Delta to the official launch recently of the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative by President Muhammadu Buhari. Next in our lineup is a report on abandoned shoreline protection contracts awarded several years ago by the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC in NEMBE and Otuabage communities in Bayelsa State. Moving on, we bring you the true story behind a wooden bridge allegedly constructed by the NDDC at the cost of 2.3 billion naira at ELEBELE community in OGBIA local government area of Bayelsa State. We will, in the course of the program, highlight the concerns of some Niger Delta youths over the fate of the forensic audit of the NDDC and the delayed passage of the Commission's 2020 budget by the National Assembly. And finally, into this package is a call for a law backing the establishment of the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project HYPREP by some OGONI youths. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. We'll be right back after this time out. Don't go away.
Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, determined to make a difference.
Welcome back. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. The civil society community in the Niger Delta has frowned at the perceived delay in the legitimization of artisanal crude oil refining in the region as promised by the federal government. In their reaction to the implementation of the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative for the benefit of host communities of the precious stones in the northern part of Nigeria, they are calling on the federal government to extend same goodwill to operators of artisanal refineries whose activities in the Niger Delta are still considered illegal. Correspondent Ekena Mufuri tells us more.
On the 16th of July this year, President Buhari took delivery of the first batch of gold bars processed and refined by local gold miners to meet the London Bullion Market Association standards. The locally mined gold was subsequently sold to the Central Bank of Nigeria to shore up the country's foreign reserve. The epoch-making event follows the launch in 2019 of the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative, conceived to transform the gold mining sector for the benefit of rural mining communities, existing and potential investors in the sector, as well as the federal government.
The Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative will enable the deployment of financing schemes that will help miners improve on the quality of mining operations. Furthermore, efforts are being made to support artisanal miners in improving the standard of the gold that will be sold to the central bank in order to ensure that they meet international benchmarks.
Nigeria's estimated gold reserve is put at over 200 million ounces, most of which have not been exploited. The new gold initiative is expected to transform mining activities in states lying in the country's gold belt, including Kebbi, Kaduna, Zamfara, Niger and Osun states. Improved gold mining in these states will create no fewer than 500,000 jobs and generate about $500 million annually in royalties and taxes to the federal government. Additionally, the initiative is in place to effectively combat illegal gold mining, which has led to several deaths from lead poisoning, as well as increased rates of banditry, particularly in Kebbi and Zamfara states. In addition to its gold reserves, Nigeria is endowed with vast deposits of crude oil, which has served as the country's economic backbone over the years. Ironically, oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta have remained largely underdeveloped and backward. prompting many locals to go into refining of crude oil. In the Niger Delta, local refining involves distillation of crude petroleum over a specific range of boiling points to produce finished products like kerosene, petrol, and diesel. Although activities of unlicensed refiners are considered illegal, the trade has become a major source of employment, providing immense economic benefits for practitioners and continues to attract more entrants. In March 2017, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, then Nigeria's acting president, visited the Niger Delta and held series of meetings with aggrieved communities. In one of such meetings in Port Harcourt, the Vice President disclosed plans by the federal government to legalize local crude oil refining with the establishment of modular refineries to benefit the people.
Those young men and women who are involved in illegal refining, our approach to that is that we must engage them by establishing modular refineries so that they can participate in legal refining, not illegal refining. And we are committed to making sure that the young men and women of the Niger Delta are properly engaged.
3 years after the federal government promised to legalize artisanal crude oil refining and create jobs in the Niger Delta, most of the practitioners are getting increasingly worried that the government has failed to deliver on its promise.
The government make it give us paper. Make it approve that for us. They wanna fire that. Then when government don't put my say no fire that, that time the way we go maintain the place, we go the maintenance. The government people are for us. Because this thing they help Nigeria. When you look now, the graduates, many graduates now, don't work.
Yes.
Like my camp now gets graduate civil engineering. Me I not go to school.
The activities of artisans involved in crude petroleum refining in the Niger Delta are in many ways similar to operations of illegal gold miners, as it was obtainable in the country's gold belt prior to the Presidential Gold Mining Development Initiative. Local refining of crude oil in the Niger Delta thrives on stolen crude. According to a recent report by the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, the country lost about 38.5 billion naira to crude oil theft between 2009 and 2018, with about 400,000 barrels of the black gold stolen on a daily basis. Equally worrisome is the untold environmental pollution attendant on local refining of crude, which has become widespread in the Niger Delta. And perhaps most disturbing for concerned Niger Deltans is the government's seeming reluctance to replicate in their region what it has done in the country's gold belt to empower local communities.
I believe that the presidency, with that initiative, wants to see to it that people of that area where the gold were found have direct access to the natural resources within their community. And the same thing the Niger Deltans have been agitating for years now.
There was a momentum that came from the speech of the vice president at the time as acting president. And I think all participants in the sector keyed in and were ready. Even the practitioners who are presently practicing illegally, what you can call, in quote, modular refining, we are prepared to key into the government licensed modular refining system. So let's not lose that momentum.
The many undesirable outcomes of local crude oil refining in the Niger Delta notwithstanding, it has filled many gaps witnessed in Nigeria's poorly managed petroleum industry, a fact which the federal government recently acknowledged when it reiterated its commitment to co-opt artisanal refiners in crude oil production. This is because artisanal refiners, through their operations, have made refined petroleum products more available and affordable for Nigerians.
Federal government is only telling us they are bringing fuel from here, they are bringing fuel from here, they are bringing fuel from here. All the fuel they are bringing is from the creek. So long as the federal government does not have the political will to open the Mamode refinery, this fuel business will not going to stop.
But do you know that it is illegal? It is against Nigerian law.
It is illegal,
Nigerian law.
Yes, Nigerian law, yes, but it's our oil. It's our oil. If you want to stop us, you must make a provision for us. It's our oil.
In doing so, they have demonstrated their capacity to tackle the country's perennial energy crisis, which key players in the petroleum industry have been unable to address over the years. The general consensus in the Niger Delta is that the federal government is expected, therefore, to fulfill its promise to co-opt local refiners in crude oil production without any further delay.
Inside the Niger Delta.
With some of its communities lying in the coastal belt of the region, Bayelsa State accounts for several shoreline protection contracts awarded by the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC over the years. Although the shoreline protection projects were initiated to save lives and property in communities seriously affected by coastal erosion, some of them have been abandoned by the contractors. Correspondent Chika Bodozie, who made a recent trip to NEMBE and Otuabage communities to monitor the execution of shoreline protection contracts, filed in this report.
In 2011, work commenced on a shoreline protection contract awarded by the NDDC in Isokiri, one of the communities in NEMBE Kingdom of Bayelsa State. It was in response to the plight of residents of this island community, which for many years had lost a vast portion of its land to coastal erosion. Contractor handling the project mobilized the site and commenced work, but suddenly disappeared when the community queried the quality of his engineering design for the project.
When they now pile this, we said no, that supposed to be a ring road around it. If you go to Abonema, they have a similar one like that. So you can go around the whole community to protect further, erosion effects there.
They did not just abandon it and leave. As you can see, this indiscriminately packed concrete or piling materials, they have constituted death traps to our people. We've recorded up to 3 deaths here of children who came here, they jumped into the river, and we are hit by the ones that are submerged.
Several years after the NEMBE Shoreline Protection Project was abandoned, there has been no word from the contractor, who our crew tried to reach to no avail. Looking at the extent of job done so far on the project, it was easy to tell that it was still at its commencement stage at the time it was abandoned. The implication is that the community would remain perpetually vulnerable to perennial coastal flooding, which has already eroded a vast portion of available land if nothing is done to get the absconding contractor back to site.
In the past 10 years, we have lost nothing less than, I will say, 5 to 8 meters of shoreline to erosion. So our community is endangered.
A neighboring Otuabage community in OGBIA local government area, where a similar project was awarded by the NDDC in 2012, it was equally abandoned by a contractor identified as a former federal lawmaker from Rivers State. Responding to an invitation from the community through an email by Enoni Amakiri, Inside the Niger Delta visited the project site and discovered that the contractor had resumed work after the community petitioned the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
They petitioned the contractor to EFCC and they invited the contractor, and the contractor later begged the community and promised that he's going to work on the resume work. He is from Rivers State, a former House of Rep member.
In confirmation of the community's position, it was observed that fresh materials had been deployed to site where work was in progress. The Otuabage experience is perhaps a wake-up call on other communities in the Niger Delta to begin to push for completion of abandoned projects initiated to improve their lots by the NDDC.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Still in Bayelsa State, but in ELEBELE community in OGBIA local government area of Bayelsa State, where it was alleged recently in the social media that the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC awarded contracts for the construction of a wooden bridge at a cost of 2.3 billion naira. Leaders of the community have dismissed the allegations as false and misleading. Correspondent Chika Bodozie, who visited the community recently, tells us more.
In recent weeks, reports on a wooden bridge allegedly constructed by the NDDC in ELEBELE community at the cost of 2.3 billion naira have gone viral in the social media. Our crew decided to visit the community and discovered that authors of the reports either misunderstood or deliberately misinterpreted the Honorable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, who recently made reference to a collapsed bridge in ELEBELE community. Our findings revealed that the bridge captured in the social media and portrayed as an NDDC project was actually constructed through the magnanimity of Mr. David Lyon, candidate of the All Progressive Congress in the 2019 Bayelsa governorship election.
NDDC has never come to do even something of just to make a survey or to plan it. Nothing. The bridge I saw on the WhatsApp was built by the former governor aspirant from APC, Chief David Leon.
I make bold to say that NDDC never awarded 2.3 billion for the construction of a wooden bridge in ELEBELE community, not to talk of OGBIA local government as a whole.
It was further gathered that the bridge Akpabio mentioned in his recent statement was a second bridge in ELEBELE.
In a place in Bayelsa, ELEBELE, a bridge collapsed. 7 communities are drinking water, using canoes to go and get drinking water. It won't cost 3 billion or 2 billion to do the bridge. But if the budget does not even give 50 million naira, how can they do it?
Revelations made by the community corroborates the position of the NDDC. In a press statement, Director Corporate Affairs of the NDDC, Charles Odili, averred that the Commission hereby declares that it has no such projects in ELEBELE. We have gone through our records for the past 18 years and there is no contract for the construction of a bridge in the community. The statement further reads, ELEBELE community sought the intervention of the NDDC to rebuild the collapsed bridge. The proposal is in our system and it is presently at its design stage. Undoubtedly, the reports on a wooden bridge allegedly constructed by the NDDC are fake and intended to mislead the public. However, the bridge to which the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs referred is actually in need of intervention after it was damaged by a huge duty truck sometime in 2019.
A trailer that carries stone base from local content job, NCDBNB job at Emeawan Park, bring down this bridge in 2019. This is the second ELEBELE bridge that collapsed in 2019.
This bridge is not only important to the people of this community, but it's important to the whole senatorial East District of Bayelsa State, because this is the only route where they pass. Everyone going to NEMBE brass, they pass through here. And now that this bridge is collapsed, they are not comfortable.
With 2 bridges connecting ELEBELE to the rest of Bayelsa State completely damaged, the community has had to contend with serious transportation and communication hiccups. The plight of the oil-rich ELEBELE community, which boasts of over 18 oil wells, is further compounded by the absence of basic amenities like water and electricity. Residents of this neglected community are calling on government at the state and federal levels to come to their aid as a matter of urgency.
Inside the Niger Delta.
NDDC, established in the year 2000 to help develop Nigeria's Niger Delta region. After 2 decades, what is their scorecard?
The amount of money which the federal government is religiously allocating to NDDC, we would like to see the results on the ground.
They have been doing a lot in the last 19 years, but if they were doing quality projects, I'm sure that we would have seen so much on the ground.
What is the state of the NDDC project in your community? Tell us about it and we will report it. Send us an email to insidethenigerdelta@gmail.com or call us on 080-920-76444. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
A coalition of youth groups led by the Niger Delta Peace Movement for Good Governance has insisted that the forensic audit of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) must go on, despite perceived attempts by some powerful individuals to truncate it. The youth groups made their position known at a peaceful rally in Port Harcourt, where they also called for a speedy passage of the Commission's 2020 budget to enable it fund ongoing development projects and programs across the Niger Delta.
In the wake of the recent legislative probe into alleged financial recklessness by interim management of the NDDC, the protesting youths fear that the forensic audits of the Commission's activities ordered earlier by President Muhammadu Buhari was beginning to lose currency in the country. They called on the president to stay the course in demanding to know how the NDDC had been run from its inception in 2001 to 2019.
President Buhari means a lot for the people of Niger Delta State. If it doesn't mean anything good for us, he wouldn't have ordered for this forensic audit. Forensic audit is a welcome development in the region, at least to put forward what has been going wrong and to re-strategize things in normal place.
The forensic audit should continue. It's a good development for the Niger Delta people. Let the forensic audit work so that persons living with disability also will be carried along in this administration.
The concerned Niger Delta youths, after carrying out a post-mortem on the recent legislative probe into activities of the NDDC, arrived at the conclusion that there was no love lost between interim management of the Commission and the National Assembly. They, however, prevailed on the federal lawmakers to expedite action in passing the Commission's 2020 budget to enable it fund critical projects and programs in Nigeria's largely underdeveloped Niger Delta region.
Because it is NDDC 2020 budget be passed, rapid development will come in the Niger Delta. Now, right now, we have our students in abroad. They are suffering. They have not paid their school fees. Because of the 2020 budget, our leaders should come together. Our leaders should put their heads together. Keep every grievances, keep every sentiment, keep every party politics, and then come to develop the region. If you go to some places in the Niger Delta region, they don't have good water to drink. Contractors have not been paid. Many of them perhaps go to banks to take loans, sell their houses. Many of them are dying of strokes.
Rather than scrap the NDDC, as some stakeholders have suggested, the Niger Delta youth said the best thing to do was to carry out a forensic audit of the Commission's activities over the years and strengthen its processes to enable it deliver on its mandate as an intervention agency.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Ogoni youths, under the auspices of the Ogoni Youth Federation and the National Youth Council of Ogoni People, have demanded a law backing the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project, HYPREP. They made the demand recently at a press briefing in Port Harcourt. Correspondent Lovely Ofigo has details.
Ogoni youth leaders who did not hide their dissatisfaction at activities of HYPREP insisted that contractors for the water project must be experienced and skilled professionals who understood how to get safe drinking water from a polluted underground source. According to Comrade Legacy, President General of Ogoni Youth Federation, there are several hazardous chemicals and compounds in the underground water in Ogoni land today.
The UNEP, which is the United Nations Environment Programme, reports possess that water in Ogoni land had been seriously contaminated with benzene, a known carcinogen, which was found in drinking water at a level 900 times above the World Health Organization standard.
Earlier, HYPREP's coordinator, Dr. Marvin Dekil, had reassured Ogoni people of HYPREP's knowledge of the current state of underground water pollution and its readiness to comply strictly with UNEP standard in providing potable water in Ogoni land.
We are taking our time to study the aquifers, look at the content of the water, look at the geology of the area. All of those studies are to be followed. Then we look at the best way to treat the water that is coming there What are the contaminants there? How are the best ways? So all of these things are incorporated.
Also speaking at the press conference, Dr. Young Nkpa, President General of the National Youth Council of Ogoni People, called for the enactment of a proper law governing the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project, HYPREP. According to Dr. Young, this will guarantee transparency and accountability of HYPREP's activities to Ogoni people in particular and Nigerians in general.
It should be an act of parliament that HYPREP will pass through the legal procedure such that this project can end just like NDDC. So if that is not done in this situation and it is just written on a piece of paper like a memo to a gazette paper to back HYPREP, I don't think that will be okay for anything like HYPREP after the tenure of President Buhari.
Despite its seeming continuous hostile disposition towards HYPREP, the Ogoni youth leaders insist that their activities towards HYPREP was from a place of genuine concern and a true reflection of the state of mind of an average Ogoni youth and Ogoni people in general.
Inside the Niger Delta.
That's the size of our package today on the program. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. Until next week, remember to always wash your hands and maintain safe social distance to avoid contracting the deadly coronavirus disease. I am Mamode Akugha. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.